Welcome back to the 700 Club. Should the Justice Department investigate Dr. Anthony Fauci? Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is making that case. In an exclusive interview with CBN News, Paul accuses Fauci of lying to Congress about NIH funding of research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is at the center of the COVID-19 lab leak theory. Senator Paul spoke with our Capitol Hill correspondent, Abigail Robertson.
Senator Rand Paul claims while we may never know the exact cause of the COVID-19 pandemic, he wants the Justice Department to investigate whether Dr. Fauci and the NIH are linked to gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China.
The Chinese would have to admit to it. And if this virus came from their lab and they have record of that, my guess is that record's long ago been burned.
That's why the senator is pushing to uncover any link to the NIH and Fauci.
Do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement.
But Paul claims research from the lab tells a different story.
Dr. Shi, who's the one they call the bat scientist, she was doing research at that time, taking viruses that occur in animals, mutating them or recombining them with other viruses to create viruses that are not found in nature that actually can infect humans. Well, this is the very definition of what even the NIH says is gain-of-function research.
Fauci disagrees.
Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly, and I want to say that officially.
Paul believes Fauci has reason to distance himself.
I think Dr. Fauci has a conflict of interest because he was in charge of the funding. If the virus came from the lab, he has some sort of moral culpability.
And he fears if we don't find out what happened, we could see another global pandemic.
We still are funding this research in North Carolina and in Galveston, and that there's a potential problem that this could happen again with an even worse virus.
Paul believes there's a lot of evidence supporting the Wuhan lab leak theory.
They quit putting their viruses sequence, their DNA, RNA sequences online in the fall of 2019. Actually, even before we knew this was going on, they had taken offline their sequences so people couldn't look at this.
And he isn't convinced it originated naturally.
They tested 80,000 animals in the Wuhan wet markets, and none of them had COVID. They've taken COVID-19 and tried to infect bats with it, and it turns out it readily infects humans, but not bats, which makes you suspicious about it coming from bats if it doesn't really readily infect bats.
Paul would also like to see an investigation outside the World Health Organization and thinks the U.S. should reinstitute withholding funds to the WHO. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thanks, Abigail. Pat, no love lost between the two.
Well, I congratulate Senator Rand Paul on what he did. I think Fauci is a liar. I think that he is covering up the stuff that he's done, and that he and his associates are probably responsible for this gain-of-function thing. They took a fairly benign virus and manipulated it, and they did it with government money. And although he himself didn't do it, he had several intermediate organizations picking up the money. And it wouldn't break my heart if they brought criminal charges against him for lying to Congress. But I don't know if Rand Paul is going to do that or pursue it, or whether the Biden administration will do it or not. But Anthony Fauci should not be the lead man in terms of telling us whether we should wear masks or what we should do when we go to camp, or what we should do about in vaccinating young people and so forth. I think he's a deeply flawed human being, and the anger he showed when he talked to the senator showed an arrogance that I think is unbecoming somebody. But people say, well, he's the head virologist, and we should listen to him rather than a doctor on the Senate committee. Well, that is your opinion, but mine. I salute Senator Paul on what he's doing.